Hello, new day, new game, buses! Nintendo Switch is full of simulator games, whether we're talking about airplanes, gymnastics or homelessness. Yeah, the genre is well represented. Perhaps the most common games are those that have to do with vehicles. And now it's time to get behind the wheel and drive a bus. Bus Simulator City Ride is a game developed by Astrogon and is available in Nintendo eShop for $35. In this video I discuss if the game is worth buying, how it's experienced on the Nintendo Switch and if it's entertaining. To begin with, there are a couple of different options you can choose to play in Sandbox Mode, which gives access to most everything right from the start. All buses are unlocked, unlimited money, you have access to all districts and you are at max level. Yeah, there is a level up system in this game, but more on that later. The other way of playing is to successively unlock new routes, unlock new buses and complete several missions in order to bring in capital, improve one's reputation and level up. You could say it's a type of story mode. A woman tells you what should be done and how it can benefit your career. To sum up, it's about getting the key to the city, creating a bus empire. Let's discuss the gameplay and its purpose. It's about making money and become the king of buses, which is done by having a good reputation. A good reputation is gained by buying buses and placing them on any available route. It is thus a passive way to get a better reputation, and the more buses that are in circulation, the better reputation you get and the more money you earn. With money, you can then buy or unlock new routes and new buses. There are 10 different buses to choose from, but it's not enough to make money. You must also have a high enough level to be able to unlock. You level up when you finish a route or a couple of routes. That is to say, drive a bus from start to finish and ideally do it without any mistakes. And yeah, there are a lot of do nots in this game. If you're late to a bus stop, you will be penalized. If you run over a pedestrian or ram into a wall, you are in trouble. If you forget to blink or blink in the wrong direction, if you drive too fast, if you don't stop at red light, if you happen to miss a bus stop or drive the wrong way, yeah, there will be consequences. On the other hand, it seems that you can drive on even though there is a stop sign. You will not be penalized for that. It is strange, so it's all about making as few mistakes as possible, which leads to a good score. And a good score translates into more level points, and in this case also to get their best rating, which means 5 stars. So all in all, there is a clear progression in the game to eventually play through all the routes that are available, and there are many. I've counted about 60 routes, so there's quite a lot to play through. You drive around a town called Havensbury, but the fact is that the area is bigger than just the city. You also explore parts of the countryside and the lakeside. In fact, I have to say that I'm amazed at how big the world is. Often you find yourself in a new place you don't recognize. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a map. It would have been fun to be able to drive around freely with just a map, but then there would also have been a free play option. But there isn't, and if you play in Sandbox Mode, there are certain freedoms, but you're still bound to drive the predetermined routes. Just for the sake of it, I have tried doing everything you should not do. Here I try to drive illegally fast, but end up landing in the sea. The bus resets. I'm trying to crash right into a house. There are no explosions or anything like that. I challenge myself to drive on the pavement. Very difficult and next to impossible. I try to crash into cars. Yeah, it works. I perceive it as relatively difficult to implement anarchy in this simulator. So now to the question of what a bus can do. You can brake and accelerate. You can steer left and right, as well as use left and right indicators. To let passengers in, you can open and close the doors and honk to make other cars move. It is also possible to activate the windscreen wipers and turn on the warning lights. In the game, there is also the option to drive in the morning, in the afternoon or in the evening. Then you can regulate the light. There are no gears, so all you have to worry about is accelerating and braking. The 10 buses buses you have to choose from have different characteristics. Personally, however, I found them to be relatively similar to drive. It is very difficult to point out that any bus would be better or worse than another. The biggest difference is probably their length, which can affect visibility. It is also possible to choose between two different camera angles, cockpit view or third-person view. Cockpit view is actually entertaining and gives perhaps the most realistic feeling of driving a bus. I find it challenging to use the cockpit view, but it's quite possible to manage. You have to be careful with all angles to avoid collisions. Possibly the third-person view is what is used the most because it gives a clear overview of everything that is going on. To indicate left and right, pick up passengers at a bus stop, honk at cars, remove dirt from the windshield, and keep track of the time. Yes, there are many things to keep an eye on, and it helps with a good view. To get extra money and more reputation, you can also do missions. These are also necessary to complete to unlock certain routes. It can be about driving specific routes, getting the best rating, i.e. getting 5 stars, or using a specific vehicle. The missions are actually varied and contribute to a broader experience, that you feel that there is a purpose to driving the bus. You can also do some daily quests, 3 every 24 hours. They can be good for bringing in even more capital to buy more buses and unlock new routes. Bus Simulator City Ride is a game that I feel is relatively realistic. Sure, you can always point out that you can't use gears or other things that have to do with bus driving, but above all, I want to highlight the accuracy of driving correctly as one of the game's great assets. You cannot act like a lunatic in real traffic, and you shouldn't in this game. You will be penalized if you drive badly, which can serve as a reminder of how careful you must be in traffic. If you drive over the speed limit, you get a deduction. If you run over pedestrians, the mission is basically over and you may have to start over again. However, something that I think should be changed in the game is the setting for the camera. Only the Y-axis can be changed, and it affects both cockpit view and third-person view. If you change the Y-axis in cockpit view, it will change in third-person view. Extremely annoying if you drive a distance and switch between the two modes. I urge the developers to change this, having 2 separate settings for each camera mode. This game is a game I recommend if you want to learn more about buses and get a feel for what it's like to work as a bus driver. I know more about buses today than I did a week ago, so that's positive. I would say that it's worth the money, especially if you like this niche. There is a lot to do, many routes to complete and many places to explore. If you experience a lag in the game, there is a possibility of reducing the quality, but overall I thought this was a fairly pleasant trip. I almost never experienced frame rate issues. However, there were a couple of times when the game crashed, but I take it that the game autosaves, so nothing was lost really. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. I review new games every week. Have a nice day. See ya!